Now, after my last video of testing Soundstage on an incredibly cheap pair of speakers, I wanted to upgrade. And someone had a pair of Klipsch bookshelf and Floorstanding speakers for sale. So I couldn't help myself, I had to get them because I knew I'd make a perfect comparison video. What's the difference between a pair of bookshelf and Floorstanding speakers for Soundstage alone? Now what I've got here for the bookshelves is a pair of Klipsch R50Ms, and the floor standers are a pair of Klipsch R26Fs. And because I want to compare just Soundstage alone, I've got a subwoofer to pair with both, which is a Polk Audio PSW10. Now as for gear, it's pretty much the same as last time. I've got an Audio-Technica LP60 with an upgraded cork turntable mat and an elliptical stylus, as well as a Fozzy audio preamp, a Yamaha CD-S300, and the same old Sony receiver. And as for the room, I've changed it quite a bit since the last video. It's a little more set up for hi-fi over being a spare bedroom. Now after bringing in the floor standers and kicking out the bookshelves, I played my first test song whenever I'm setting up speakers, which is Bonobo Black Sands. In the beginning of the song, there's 4 instruments that play, and they're placed about like that. So it's a really good test for instrument separation to see if they're blurred together or placed in weird spots, too high, too low, whatever. Now what I noticed when playing that song is that these had a lot more punch to them. They're also a lot more gritty in that the instruments themselves had a lot more detail to them. But also everything sounded a lot more musical to me. And that carried out for everything else that I listened to on them. Just felt a lot more alive and accurate and more musical with them. Now just a few days ago I switched back over to the bookshelves, and again the difference was huge, but now I could tell why these had so much more punch and sounded so much more musical. If you looked at a frequency response of these, I can almost guarantee that it would look really, really scooped. These don't have very much mids and really low end because they are bookshelves. I'm pretty sure if you looked at these though, it'd be a lot flatter. Maybe a little bit scooped, but not as much as those. And I think a lot of that punch is from these having mid-range over the bookshelves. As far as soundstage between them, the bookshelves are just about as wide and just about as deep, but it feels fake compared to the floor standers. Everything with the floor standers felt more like the width and the depth felt real. It didn't feel like it was being faked like with the bookshelves. And I think that general instrument separation that I was talking about with the floor standers made things feel a lot more three-dimensional. For example, when listening to LaVey, How I Get, her voice is right out into the room, while everything is pushed back and out. But still, even though it's pushed back and out, you can tell different things are popping out in different places. With the bookshelves, everything was a little more compressed. It was still deep, but her voice didn't pop out as much into the room, and the instruments kind of blended together a little bit and weren't quite as, they were close to as wide as the floor standers, but like I said, it just feels fake compared to what those can do. You know, I tried my best for this not to be about tonal difference or EQ difference of the speakers, but that's really what makes the biggest difference between them. It isn't just about soundstage itself. And I thought that the subwoofer would help with the difference in low end between them, because I thought that that would be the obvious difference. I wasn't expecting mids to be the biggest difference between them. I think it really varies brand to brand, but this is just what I noticed with a pair of Klipsch bookshelves versus a pair of Klipsch floor standers. Now in conclusion, I like the floor standers a lot better. Some things, if they're not mixed quite right, do get stuck in, you know, the tweeters themselves instead of being outside of the speakers, whereas I feel like the bookshelves disappear a lot easier. But just the realness and the punch and the separation that the floor standers have beats the bookshelves disappearing. So anyways, that's my thoughts. I hope this was helpful in some way. And I'm gonna go back to listening to Will Smith's Big Willie Style.